if you fancy yourself an artist and you're ready to put your skills to the test in this 1v1 battle, then you want to check out React, The Arts of War. Let's take a look at how this game plays. In this game, each player controls their own artist, each who has a different deck or abilities, things that they can summon onto the board, etc. They all have their own unique powers because they are all different mediums of art. Each turn starts with the active player placing one of their masterpiece cards onto the masterpiece board. If the board is full, they are also able to swap cards in and out of there to try and complete their masterpiece, which eventually will help them to go to their ascendant form for their artist, which might give them new abilities or features. Then the active player can play an intention card, either from their hand, or potentially they might have one on the card in front of them for their character. And then players can go back and forth playing reaction cards as long as they A, want to, and B, can afford any costs that might be associated with them. And they'll just play those out to the reaction chain for that turn. Once both players have passed or they fill up that board, then the cards will resolve in backwards order, so players might have to adjust based on a card they played earlier that then might get undone by a later card. And then they can continue to play new intentions and reactions until the active player has decided to pass turn. Players will essentially be moving around the board, summoning different pieces for their own artist and whatever they are trying to do. And ultimately, there are two different ways to win the game. The main way is to do 3 damage to your opponent. When you take damage, you flip over your masterpiece cards. Functionally, they are the same. Even if they're flipped over, they can still complete your masterpiece and have you ascend. But if you take 3 damage, you will lose. The other thing that could potentially happen to most artists, some artists do not have this because they don't have a deck of cards, but if you ever run out of cards and need to draw cards, then you will also lose the game that way, potentially. Much more common to do 3 damage, but it is possible to lose by running out of cards in your deck. I love the theme of this one. I think that it is so cool to have so many different kinds of artists as the characters for this one. I like that they all feel really unique. Some of them a little bit even more unique than others because some of them have dice instead of cards, or they have summons, or they have murals, different things. It's really cool how unique they all feel. Some are definitely more complex than others, but I think that some of the easier ones are good to kind of get to learn the game with, and then the harder ones are a little bit better once you're more familiar with the mechanisms of the game. Overall, though, I do feel like they are pretty balanced. But the main hang-up I had with this game was that it felt a little bit long. The characters that I've played as, they don't have too many unique cards in their deck. It's just a lot of copies of the same couple of cards. So I didn't feel like I had a ton of choices turn to turn, so my choices or my turns felt a little bit repetitive. And if you are kind of evenly matched, like I said, it can feel a little bit long for what you're doing. But I think the more you play the game, especially if you're playing with the same person over and over again, you might be able to kind of take faster turns as you get to know the characters a little bit better. So hopefully that gets alleviated with, again, more and more plays. But overall, despite the length of it for me, I still thought that the game itself was really cool. If you like those 1v1 battle type of games, playing your cards, for the most part, again, there are some that have like dice instead of cards, but for the most part, if you like getting to know your cards and then really playing to your strengths as a unique asymmetric character, then this is definitely one worth checking out. But you can see my full thoughts on the blog today to decide if this one's for you.